Y una vez más aquí en el episodio de Voces de OdiseIA, cruzamos el Océano Atlántico una vez más a los Estados Unidos de América y en este caso nos vamos a la zona de Pensilvania. Y ahí tenemos, y ahora vamos a ir al idioma inglés en este caso y vamos a hablar con una grandísima profesional. Y ahora nos vamos a idioma inglés. And as such, we welcome Dr. Cornelia Walther at Wharton, University of Pennsylvania. Dr. Walther, welcome to Voces de OdiseIA podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. So being the first, but not the last time, hopefully, we're going to have the public to get to know about your career and your profile, which is, I would say, quite impressive. So let's get to that, Dr. Walther. When one reads your, for example, because you publish at Forbes magazine, when one reads your profile, it is quite something. So let me ask you, based especially on your extensive background in humanitarian work and your current research focus on hybrid intelligence and artificial intelligence for social good. So, for example, how did you transition, or how have you transitioned from decades of humanitarian work, field work with UNICEF in this case, and the World Food Program, to leading edge research at Wharton on hybrid intelligence?
Well, maybe in terms of background for listeners who don't know my background, I've been working with UNICEF for 20 years in humanitarian operations, mostly West Africa, but also Afghanistan and Haiti. Then worked in headquarters, developed UNICEF's global communication strategy, and then decided it's time for radical change. Began to refine and write down P.O.Z.E, a paradigm for social change via individual transformation that I had prototyped whilst working in Haiti, and wrote one book, which became 2, 3, 4. And at some point, and in 2021, before ChatGPT became the name of every game, became more interested in technology as a potential catalyst of positive social change at scale. So if you like, it has organically arisen from my thinking and from my quest for finding ways of making positive social change sustainable and large scale. And in that sense, it might seem strange to think about humanitarian action on the one hand and technology at the edge on the other hand, but they are actually very complementary. And that is also the focus of my current work on prosocial AI, which refers to AI systems that are tailored, trained, tested, and targeted to bring out the best in and for people and planet, which in return requires hybrid intelligence. So the complementarity of NI and AI, natural intelligence, and artificial intelligence.
I see. Was there a pivotal moment for you to actually, this in Spanish we have this expression called to quote unquote change your chip? Was there a pivotal moment that made you change that or reformulate that knowledge you already had into AI in this case?
Not really. As I mentioned, it's I have been in a way obsessed with this question: how can we make people want to become part of positive social change for the past 2 decades? And so technology just became one more tool in this overall quest, because if we design, deliver, and deploy it with a positive social intent, then it has this potential of making society a better place and making us better versions of ourselves. The main point in this, I think, is that whatever good or bad comes out of technology is ultimately a very human question. It has nothing to do with the tool and much more with those who design and use that tool. So human. And in that sense, I think the question of social change versus technology design are two sides of one equation, because we can't expect the tool to be better than the one who designs it.
How did your field experiences inform your current understanding of technology's potential for social transformation, the one we're living in right now?
It's that we can't expect the technology of tomorrow to be better than the humans of today, because technology is a mirror. And I think the first, second, and third industrial revolution were driven by commercial interests, and that has taken society to the place where it is today. And AI just has this huge impact on human intent, judgment, and ability to make autonomous decisions, that we can't repeat the mistakes of the past. And that's why I'm so adamant about prosocial AI and the need for hybrid intelligence to drive it forward.
Okay, this is actually very interesting. You have coined the term artificial intelligence for inspired action, or AI for IA. Very nice. Could you elaborate on what distinguishes quote unquote aspirational algorithms from conventional AI systems, and how they might address the limitations you observed during your humanitarian work?
Well, aspirational algorithms is in a way the technology component of prosocial AI. So it's coming back, how do we bake into the DNA of our AI the values that we as humans stand for and aspire to.
Okay. Your research focuses on the interplay of human leadership and humane technology. How do you define humane technology, and what principles should guide its development?
Well, humane technology, again, it's another way of referring to the aspect that technology should be what humans want and what humans could be in their best possible form. So it's anchored in the understanding that we are multidimensional, but we all have this inherent desire of being part of something bigger. So humane technology is in a way encapsulating this better version of ourselves.
Okay. In 2017, you initiated the P.O.Z.E, I guess I'm saying it right, the P.O.Z.E, or P-O-Z-E dynamic, which means perspective, optimization, zeal, and exposure in Haiti, which has now become a global network. How did this framework serve as a bridge between individual transformation and scalable technological solutions?
Well, P.O.Z.E, which on the one hand is this acronym that you just mentioned with perspective, optimization, zenith, and exposure, but it's also standing for inner peace in Haitian Creole, where I initially prototyped it. It looks at human existence as this composition of twice four dimensions, with aspirations, emotions, thoughts, and sensations at the individual levels, and individuals as part of communities, countries, and the planet at the collective level. And it's this perspective of 4x4 dimensions that is underpinning what composes natural intelligence. Now, it's this understanding of natural intelligence that is forming the counterpart of artificial intelligence. And I think we need to have this kind of 360-degree understanding of our natural attributes before we can harness our artificial counterparts.
And given the recent story of what I call social digital networks, I don't call it social networks, because you and I are a social network right now. And what was called growth hacking back in 5, 6 years ago. And given your affiliation to MindCore and the Center for Social Norms and Behavioral Dynamics, how do you envision then AI systems being designed to influence positive behavioral change while respecting human agency and cultural diversity?
I think for me, the minimum standard in that regard is to not influence the human mind at all, and to somehow at least not make it a driver in this current transition that we are navigating in a very dangerous and I think not always conscious way, which is agency decay.
Yes.
Where we're delegating ever more of our cognitive autonomy to our artificial assistants. And right now we're passing beyond experimentation with an eye towards reliance into the area of reliance and full-blown dependency. And in that regard, I think the minimum standard that we should consider when we think about positive AI of the future in regards to the relationship with the human mind is to not have influence. Now, if we want to think about the next stage, it could be how can we nudge human decision making to avoid falling into biases that are in contradiction with our own values and our own aspirations. But that obviously is a more nuanced discussion because it then comes very closely to where do we start with manipulation and where do we end with positive influence.
And one of the I've heard the other day or so during the weekend actually I heard this podcast about agency. How's the new? Well, apparently agency is now a new sort of frontier. How would you define from your own perspective? How would you define if there is a general or generic definition to agency? How would you define or redefine agency?
I think there are two aspects. One aspect is human agency, which refers to Disney World, book a hotel, book the flight, organize a babysitter, and at the same time organize a snorkeling trip in the surroundings. All of that, technically speaking, is now possible. And the agent can use your credit card, can contact the flight company.
Dr. Walther, your work suggests, if I'm not mistaken, of course, that social change starts from within individuals. And how can AI systems be designed to nurture, good word, this internal transformation rather than simply modifying external behaviors through persuasive technology?
I think the interesting thing in the interplay between agents is that our AI systems are evolving with the individual users. So in that sense, whatever we as the individual user put in, be that in the interaction with the phone, a chatbot, or any other artificial tool nowadays, it is evolving and it is adapting to our tonality, to our habits, and increasingly also to our intent. And in that sense, there is either the way that it can help us when we're going in a good direction, or it can be configured with a commercial intent whereby it influences and detracts what might be our original intent and planned desires, for example, for shopping or for any kind of entertainment, distraction, etc., that might be in divergence to what would be our aspirations. So in that sense, a very practical tool would be that is a sort of coach in the pocket, where you program at the beginning, these are the values, these are the aspirations that you have in a medium long term. And then your tool can actually help you stay on track towards those if in the day by day you might snap out of that, because we all have biases, right? Let's face it. Very often there is this seeming opposition where the human is put as being better than the machine. Well, yes and no, but we all have a dark side in ourselves. And I think it's important to keep that in mind as well when we think that AI is all bad. Well, the AI ultimately is neutral. It's as good or as bad as we, the human, are.
Okay, here's a question that it's quite important because of what is happening here in the European Union, that with the EU AI Act in this case, and that we're trying to sort all these this geopolitical earthquake that the Trump administration brought in with the Stargate project and so forth. So, for example, what role do you see on for decentralized AI enhanced approaches in addressing global challenges compared to then traditional institutional responses such as ours?
I think it needs to be more inclusive, because clearly the answer and the path forward when it comes to AI in society is something that cannot be left in the hands of the public sector. It can't be left in the hands of the private sector. And it's not something that the UN or the EU alone is ready to tackle and regulate by themselves. So I think this is an opportunity, but also a challenge for all the classic players that are involved in governance to open up the playing field and to do something that is in a way co-created, because this also involves academia, this also involves civil society, and this is something that needs to involve cross generations and cross cultures. And it's also something that cannot be ruled within just the borders of one confined geographic area. So I think AI is very unique in that sense that it is a global phenomenon more and more, but where we need to bring a more divergent range of voices in.
Just like the internet used to be. We remember that. Looking ahead, what are the most promising applications of hybrid intelligence in humanitarian context, and what safeguards need to be established to prevent the misuse of such powerful tools?
I think one beautiful illustration of AI in a positive application is how it can make education, high quality education, available to billions of people who have a smartphone with personalized tutors in the pocket. Like Canmigo is a fantastic platform that is accessible for free and that makes the tutor in the pocket a reality. I think that is a fantastic opportunity. The risk with that is that who controls the content?
I see.
But that is for me a wonderful illustration of AI for good.
Okay. It often we here in the podcast we use the figure of any person out there right now. Say Mary is out there right now. She just got back from work. She's at home right now sitting, and all of a sudden she's listening to these podcasts, for example, with you, Dr. Walther. And the question And Mary is not related in any way to artificial intelligence. So Mary is asking this question: why should I care about this? What would you respond to her? Why should she care?
Well, Mary, I don't know you, but I think we all have somewhere in our side that child that always wants to learn and that maybe is curious about what life could be more than just coming back from work and going to work and coming back and going back, and to just discover something new about yourself, but also about other sides of what life is. And I think AI opens a new window to discover something and to cross into a new territory that you might not even have suspected that it exists. So in that sense, I think AI is an opportunity to re-inject joy, discovery, and excitement into your everyday life. And the other thing, and which is maybe now a more rational answer to Mary, which is that it can help you to learn, to acquire new skills.
Okay, sounds like a plan. And finally, Dr. Walther, as in whatever consciousness and artificial intelligence mean, we don't know the full extent of it, but we stand at this intersection of human consciousness and artificial intelligence. What message would you offer to technologists and policymakers who are shaping the future of human AI collaboration?
That we can't expect the technology of tomorrow to be better than the humans of today, and that the old saying of garbage in, garbage out still holds very true, and that we need to make today the choice of values in, values out. And that requires hybrid intelligence, which means the complementarity of natural intelligence and artificial intelligence, which then in turn requires a solid and large-scale investment in double literacy, which is, on the one hand, human literacy, a holistic understanding of self and society, and on the other hand, algorithmic literacy, not just prompt engineering, but what AI is, how it works, and why.
There it is. There you have it. Well, this has been the first time here on the podcast. Thank you very much, Dr. Walther. We'll be in touch, of course. And for those watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, you have on the description everything related to books, publications, and so forth from Dr. Cornelia Walther. Thank you, Doctor. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Frank.
Bye now.